Hello, and welcome to our channel. Today we'll be exploring the life of Marion Davies, a story woven with both exceptional talent and profound tragedy, set against the backdrop of early Hollywood's glamorous but turbulent world. Celebrated as one of the silent film era's gifted actresses, Davies was nonetheless marked by her complex personal life and her high-profile relationship with media mogul William Randolph Hearst. By the end of her life, the media had reshaped her public image, casting her as an ambitious social climber rather than acknowledging her genuine artistry. Yet beyond the scandals and media portrayals, Davies was a warm-hearted woman with deep ties to her family, particularly her nieces and nephews. Among them was one niece who held a special place in her heart and to whom she eventually left a significant inheritance, a decision that would later unravel a hidden family secret rooted in scandal and mystery. Join us as we look beyond the surface to uncover the real Marion Davies and the extraordinary life that Hollywood almost forgot. Davies began her career alongside her older sisters as a chorus girl at the popular Ziegfeld Follies. To present themselves as more refined, even British, the sisters adopted the surname Davies. It was during this period that a fateful encounter changed the course of her life. One evening, a prominent figure in American media, newspaper tycoon William Randolph Hearst, attended one of the Follies shows. He was immediately captivated by Marion, though she was still a teenager at the time, and he became determined to win her attention. For 8 weeks straight, Hearst returned to the front row of every performance, solely to watch her. Though he was persistent in his admiration, he refrained from directly approaching her, and instead chose to shower her with gifts from a distance. One day, Davies was invited to a Broadway studio for a photo shoot, which seemed like a promising career opportunity. But as she posed, she noticed something unsettling. Hearst was lurking in the background of the studio, observing her. The realization was both shocking and frightening, especially when she later learned that he had orchestrated the entire shoot as a means to be near her. This intense fixation led to a more formal arrangement in 1918 when Hearst established Cosmopolitan Pictures. The first actress Hearst signed to his newly founded Cosmopolitan Pictures was, naturally, Marion Davies. She accepted an exclusive contract, earning a generous $500 per week, a considerable sum at the time, and a testament to her rising star. This contract seemed like a dream come true, offering Davies financial stability and the opportunity to solidify her place in Hollywood. However, the arrangement brought more complications than she anticipated, as her professional partnership with Hearst quickly evolved into a romantic relationship, despite his being married. Hearst, a media mogul who controlled the largest newspaper and media empire in the United States, was willing to go to extraordinary lengths to boost Davies' career, reportedly spending over $7 million in promotional efforts for her. His influence and wealth helped Davies appear in an impressive average of 3 films per year over the next decade, with most achieving substantial success. Her growing popularity and undeniable talent on screen eventually earned her the title of Queen of the Screen from theater owners across the country. However, while the public saw her as a rising star, the reality of her personal and professional life was far more complicated. Hearst's intense devotion to Davies often crossed the line into obsession, and his jealousy was so extreme that he imposed strict control over her career choices. He insisted on deciding who she shared the screen with, typically demanding that she be cast alongside older or gay leading men, who he deemed less likely to pose a romantic threat. This limitation stifled her career growth, as she was frequently denied the chance to work with other popular actors of her era. Despite her natural gift for comedy and her well-known mischievous sense of humor, Hearst had an unyielding preference for seeing her in grand historical dramas and costume pieces, which he pressured producers to cast her in. This insistence on serious roles at odds with her own strengths hindered her ability to fully showcase her comedic talent, ultimately stalling her career development and narrowing the range of roles available to her. Throughout the Roaring Twenties, Hearst and Davies were inseparable, despite the fact that he remained married to his first wife, Millicent Wilson. Wilson steadfastly refused to grant him a divorce even though she had moved to New York. which allowed Hearst and Davies to live openly together. The two took up residence in Hearst Castle, an extravagant estate overlooking the Pacific Ocean, where they hosted lavish parties, welcoming the elite of Hollywood and high society. Although their relationship was not formalized through marriage, they made little effort to hide it. Their romance became known as one of Hollywood's most open secrets. Hearst Castle stood like a palace of dreams, its European-inspired architecture and opulence drawing the biggest names in Hollywood during the 1920s and 1930s. The press was quick to report on the lavish gatherings that William Randolph Hearst hosted here, where stars like Charlie Chaplin, Greta Garbo, and Joan Crawford would arrive in style by private train or airplane. Guests knew they were in for a weekend unlike any other, a chance to escape into luxury with horseback rides through sprawling trails, swims in the dazzling Neptune pool, and private movie screenings in Hearst's Grand Theater. The cinema room itself was a marvel, with plush seats and an ornate atmosphere that made it feel like a private paradise for Hollywood's elite. The spirit of these weekends wasn't just elegant, it was filled with mischief and play, a rare freedom for stars bound by the usual social decorum. As the San Francisco Chronicle once reported, Hearst encouraged his guests to embrace the boldness and glamour that defined them on the silver screen. Carole Lombard, for instance, was known to playfully stir up laughter with her quick wit, while Buster Keaton would entertain the crowd with spontaneous skits and performances. The castle became a space where stars could shed their public personas and indulge in the carefree spirit of the Golden Age. Yet, Hearst's watchful presence could always be felt, even in this indulgent atmosphere. The New York Times once noted how every guest was expected to meet for cocktails at exactly 7:30 p.m., with strict instructions forbidding them from bringing alcohol back to their rooms. To Hearst, this wasn't just a rule. It was a way of maintaining control, keeping a careful balance between order and extravagance. But despite his efforts, many found ways around the rules, with Marion Davies often leading the charge. Known for her rebellious charm, Davies frequently broke the no-alcohol rule, finding clever ways to indulge her love for a drink, adding to her reputation as both the life of the party and Hearst's greatest exception. Behind the glittering facade of these weekends, however, lay a different truth. Hearst Castle, with all its glamour, was also a place where Hollywood's hidden tensions simmered. While stars laughed, mingled, and played, silent rivalries and jealousies were always in the background, mirroring the competitive, high-stakes nature of Hollywood itself. David Nasaw, a journalist familiar with Hearst's world, once described the castle as a temporary refuge for these stars, a world apart where they could escape the pressures of fame. Yet, in reality, the castle became its own stage, one where power struggles and quiet rivalries played out beneath the smiles and laughter, a reminder that even Hollywood's brightest stars carried shadows that no luxury could completely hide. Hearst had another strict rule at these lavish gatherings. No one was allowed to keep alcohol in their rooms. By this time, however, Davies had developed a serious drinking habit, a challenge that Hearst tried to manage by limiting guests' access to alcohol. Despite his intentions, guests frequently broke this rule, and Davies herself often found ways to bypass his restrictions. Hearst's attempts to control her drinking were unsuccessful, and her dependency continued, subtly casting a shadow over the glamorous image they projected. Though the couple was known for hosting the most extravagant and sought-after parties in Hollywood, not everything was as perfect as it seemed. Behind the scenes, their relationship was marked by infidelity. Hearst was known to be unfaithful, engaging in numerous affairs. Yet Davies, rather than simply accepting his behavior, chose to retaliate in her own way. One of her most infamous affairs was with none other than Charlie Chaplin, a liaison that infuriated Hearst, whose possessiveness and jealousy only heightened the tension between them. Underneath the public eye, the fallout from the yacht incident weighed heavily on Marion Davies. The whispers about what truly happened that night spread quickly, casting a shadow that seemed to follow her in Hollywood's social circles. Davies found herself coping with intense stress and anxiety, aware that any public appearance would likely stir more rumors. Friends and close associates observed her growing caution as she became more reserved and guarded, a stark contrast to the lively personality she had once freely shared. The incident also added a subtle yet significant tension between Davies and Hearst, amplifying the possessive nature of their relationship. She increasingly felt the need to navigate her life carefully, balancing Hearst's expectations with her own desire to maintain some autonomy within Hollywood's glittering yet unforgiving world. This underlying strain, along with the scandal's lasting whispers, left a lasting imprint on Davies, altering how she presented herself and interacted with others in the years that followed. While she remained loyal to Hearst, her confidence in public waned, shaped by the delicate dance of maintaining her image while evading the ever-present specter of gossip surrounding that fateful night. This sudden disappearance only fueled public speculation, giving rise to rumors that Hearst, in a fit of jealous rage over Davies's affair with Chaplin, had accidentally shot Ince, mistaking him for the comedian. The guests present on the yacht that night maintained a wall of silence, refusing to provide statements to the police. Despite law enforcement's confirmation that Ince's death was due to natural causes, the mystery surrounding the incident and the tantalizing whispers of a Hollywood love triangle gone wrong cast a long, dark shadow over both Hearst and Davies, further entangling their lives in scandal and speculation. Despite law enforcement's statement that Thomas Ince's death was caused by a heart issue, the scandal lingered, casting a shadow over both Hearst and Davies. In the aftermath of the yacht incident, Hearst and Davies attempted to retreat from public scrutiny. Davies continued to act in successful films, but her association with Hearst began to overshadow her career. Hearst, unable to resist promoting her, plastered her name and face across his media outlets, pushing her image into every corner of his empire. Over time, however, the public grew weary of her constant presence, and her popularity waned as audiences tired of Hearst's relentless promotion. Outside her work, Davies cherished her close relationships with family, particularly with her niece Pepe. Davies, who helped raise Pepe, was deeply bonded to her and remained a steady presence in her life. However, Pepe struggled as an adult, battling both addiction and the stigma surrounding her same-sex relationship. In the spring of 1935, Pepe visited Hearst and Davies, accompanied by her girlfriend, hoping perhaps for support or acceptance. Instead, Hearst reacted harshly, committing Pepe to a mental institution due to her substance abuse and relationship. Tragically, just days later, Pepe took her own life by jumping from a hospital window. Her death devastated Davies, who withdrew from the public eye for months, consumed by grief over the loss of her beloved niece. The 1930s were difficult years for Hearst and Davies in many respects. Hearst's once mighty business empire teetered on the brink of financial collapse, and Davies did all she could to support him. She sold personal possessions, ultimately writing Hearst a check for $1 million in a bid to stave off his bankruptcy. Despite their frequent fights, infidelities, and struggles with alcohol, Davies remained steadfast in her loyalty. She confided to a friend that, despite everything, she would never abandon him. By 1941, Hearst and Davies had largely withdrawn from Hollywood's social scene. That year, Orson Welles released Citizen Kane, a film widely interpreted as a thinly veiled portrayal of Hearst's life. The character of Charles Foster Kane, a wealthy, castle-dwelling media mogul, was all too similar to Hearst, and Kane's second wife, an untalented and troubled singer, seemed a pointed caricature of Davies. Although Welles denied that he based the character of Susan Alexander Kane on Davies, the damage was done. Rather than ignore the film, Hearst attempted to prevent its release, drawing more attention to the parallels between him and Kane and solidifying Davies's unfortunate legacy as an actress unable to live up to her own talent. In Hearst's final days in 1951, Davies faced yet another heartbreak. When Hearst fell critically ill, his sons ordered that she be sedated. She awoke to find his bed empty. Hearst had passed away during the night, and his associates had swiftly removed his body, erasing any trace that he had shared a home with her. She was denied the chance to say a final goodbye, a sad reflection of her position in Hearst's life as his unrecognized partner. Whether she was excluded from the funeral by choice or at the insistence of Hearst's wife and children remains unclear, but ultimately he had never been granted a divorce, leaving Davies unacknowledged in his death. Though Hearst left her controlling shares in his company, she relinquished most of them within weeks of his passing, distancing herself from the legacy he left behind. The day after Hearst's passing, Marion Davies married Horace Brown, a sea captain, in a swift ceremony on Halloween in Las Vegas. Both Davies and her new husband shared a long-time struggle with alcoholism, a habit that had troubled her life for years. Over time, the toll of alcohol and past hardships weakened her health, and she was eventually diagnosed with bone cancer. In 1961, Davies succumbed to the disease at the age of 64, leaving behind a complex legacy of glamour, love, and sorrow. After Davies's death, a long-hidden family secret emerged, revealing a profound and poignant chapter of her life. Throughout her years, Davies had been close with her nieces and nephews, but she shared a unique bond with one in particular, Patricia. Patricia, the daughter of Davies's sister Rose, had spent a great deal of time with Hearst and Davies, who included her in many aspects of their lives. When Davies passed away, she left Patricia a substantial inheritance, a gesture that, decades later, would spark one of Hollywood's most shocking revelations. In 1993, Patricia, now nearing the end of her own life, made a dramatic deathbed confession. Davies and Hearst were not merely her aunt and uncle, but were, in fact, her biological parents. The story traced back to the early years of Davies and Hearst's relationship when Davies found herself pregnant. Determined to keep the pregnancy hidden from public scrutiny, Hearst arranged for Davies to travel to France, where she could give birth away from prying eyes. Coincidentally, around the same time, Davies's sister Rose experienced the devastating loss of a child. Seizing the opportunity to protect both her reputation and the family's privacy, Davies allowed Rose to adopt the newborn, with the sisters working together to adjust the paperwork and create a cover story for Patricia's birth. Over the years, both Davies and Hearst privately acknowledged Patricia's true parentage, but the secret remained closely guarded until Patricia finally felt free to share her story. For Davies, the circumstances that prevented her from raising her own daughter with the man she loved were a source of deep personal tragedy, a hidden sorrow that lingered alongside the public misperception of her as Hearst's social climbing mistress. This revelation added a new bittersweet dimension to Davies's legacy, casting her life in a light far different from the superficial image she had been remembered by. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the life of Marion Davies. Her story is one that transcends Hollywood's glitz and glamour, revealing a woman who navigated fame, love, loyalty, and personal sacrifice. Though her legacy has often been overshadowed by controversy, understanding the true depth of her character and her dedication to those she loved sheds light on the real Marion Davies, an actress, a family woman, and a remarkable figure in film history. If you found this story compelling, please like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth explorations of Hollywood's legends and the hidden stories behind their lives. We'd love to hear your thoughts on Marion Davies and other figures you'd like us to cover, so feel free to leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.